Alright, so quick plug-in. The barber sessions here March 13th. Get your tickets. Got a lot of people from out of state that are coming. It's going to be a great network opportunity. A lot of education. We got Jesse Lima coming. We got CPA coming. It's just going to be, keeps getting better every single week. But let's go ahead and get started with this haircut. We're going to start off with the shadow fade process. And a shadow fade is pretty much like a 5 o'clock shadow on the sides, faded up, right? And to create that look, what I generally use is the Andes all the way open, or the half, or you could use the walls open as well. And we're going to start this initial guideline right at the peak of the C-cup or the arch. And to create the next guideline, we're going to the number 1 guard all the way open. And it's almost like it's the same guidelines as the ball fade, except you skip the 0, right? You go right into the half, and you're gonna, after the half, you do the 1 open. And we'll start removing bulk with the 1 closed. And to take out that line of demarcation you created with the half, use the 1/16 or the number 0 guard for Andes. And what I like to do is I like to fade it down until it's all the way closed and it's taking out that line demarcation. And you can see here, it's pretty much blended. We'll do the same thing on the other side. And if you like the beat, if you like the instrumental, the link will be in the description below, so you guys can download. It's a free download. Alright, so let's go ahead and create the next guideline with the number 2 all the way open. And we'll do the same thing that we did with the 1 open. The next step is the number 2 closed. Like we did with the 1, we did from the 1 open to the 1 closed to remove some bulk. And once you've done that, we're going with the 1 open to really clean things up. And from there on out, we're going to continue to fade down, pretty much cross-checking. So we faded up. Now once we went from the 2 open and we're really blending that 2 open to that 1 open, we'll just start to continuously lower our guards and cross check everything until we get back down to the half portion or the first guideline portion. Once that's done, it's blended, we do the same thing on the other side. Now we'll start lowering the beard since we have the 1 attached. This is a 1 guard on the cheeks. Around the chin and the mustache area is generally darker. It's generally more coarse hair. We'll lower that down with the half to give the illusion that it is even all the way around. So he wants to taper out the sides, so we'll start with our outliner blade on the Andes ZRs, because he wants to see like some nice transition. And we'll start blending everything in from the beard up. So we'll start with the Andes open and close it the closer we get to where we made that initial guideline with the outliner blade. And once we start getting into his crown area or the sides of his fade, we'll go from the Andes closed and open it as we go up. Now we're opening it a notch for every 1/4 of an inch we go up. Let's say there's 4 notches, right? Go a notch, 1/4 of an inch, a notch, 1/4 of an inch. If there's 4 inches and you go up a notch every 1/4 of an inch, then you're blending up to an inch, right? You're spreading that blend an inch up. Now to really clean things up and make it more of a fluid fade, we'll put the number 0 guard in, since once we get to that portion, we're pretty much at the 1 area where we did a number 1 guard, and that number 0 is really going to clean things up. And we'll repeat the same steps on the other side. This particular client right here, he has his own YouTube channel. He's a fitness coach. He's also a general manager for a huge gym franchise in the Tampa Bay area. And this guy right here, he's very knowledgeable when it comes to fitness. So if you want to check out his YouTube channel, it'll be in the description below, including his Instagram. He's got a huge following on Instagram. Really cool dude. He's also somebody that influences me. Every time he sits on the chair, man, it's a good time. It's a good talk, and it's two entrepreneurs picking each other's brains, man. That's the beauty of being a barber. Sometimes, you know, the people that you meet, the people that help you grow as a person as well, and you guys can feed off of each other, you know. So this is that type of person. Brian Swain on YouTube, on Instagram, really dope dude, really dope follow, very knowledgeable person. Check him out. So you can see, I mean, it makes it a clean transition. When you taper out the sides, I think it's a really nice look. The back, he doesn't want tapered, he wants to round it off. So I'm using my Slimline Pros, and I don't zero gap. I don't make them really close. I'm putting my blades on a piece of glass and, you know, zero gap them. I use my eye, and I get them close as I possibly can, but I want to be able to use these trimmers on babies, on the back of people's necks, without irritating skin. Like, I don't want his neck to be red by the time I'm done, you know, trimming the back of his neck. As you can see, it still leaves a sharp edge. You don't need that. You don't need zero gap. You can't get closer than a razor anyways. And if you finish off your cuts like I suggest you do with the razor, then why are you gonna zero gap your blade and risk, you know, scarring people, scabbing them up, irritating them, just making a very uncomfortable service? And remember, a haircut is just a haircut. You're not locking people in unless you're giving them a service. A haircut is different from a service. Alright, so let's go right ahead into the scissors. And you know, I'm wetting the hair, and I'm using in the front of his hair a certain length. Like right here, I'm using my 2 fingers to create the length. Once I do that, I'll create pretty much the guideline in the middle of their head, middle of their hair, like I'm doing right here. And then I'll connect the sides with the middle. That'll be my guideline all the way through. But as I get closer to the ridge, because he wants kind of like a full hawkish look, I want to connect with the sides of the ridge, so I'll create that slope, as you can see with my fingers. And I'm just, you know, I'm connecting it to the top that I already made that guideline. And I'll show with my scissors the points where you can see where I should start cutting and connect it to where I should finish. And you'll see a distinct difference in length between where I should start cutting and where I should connect it, because I created that initial guideline when I faded it to the ridge and when I cut in the middle of his head on the top. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'm here at the Bronner Brothers show while I'm editing this video, and I'm doing this voiceover in my hotel, and I bought some new scissors, so I'll be bringing you guys some more scissor tutorials. He likes that spiky, you know, messy look on the top. In this calic area, you pretty much treat it the same way, but you want to make sure that you're combing it in the area that the calic grows, the natural growth pattern, and you pull it to the direction that it's growing to, and you cut it. And right here I'm doing scissor over comb. I love scissor over comb. I don't really do clipper over comb too much, but I will do scissor over comb. I feel like I have a little bit more control that way, and it gives it like a nicer finish. So let's go ahead and start lining him up. I like to leave, you know, the line up in the front as natural as possible, but still give like a nice sharp line. So what I'll try to do is comb the hair wherever it naturally grows to, the natural growth pattern, and then I'll edge it up after I'm finished combing it to its natural growth pattern. Because when it gets dry and when you wet it, if you don't line it up that way, it'll show. He'll have hair hanging over his hairline, just looking crazy, and he'll think you're just missing spots and you just don't care. And I'm constantly checking my lineup with the mirror. When I turn his head to the side, I'm also standing behind him to check and make sure that it's a nice even lineup. Around the neck area, he's very sensitive around the neck area, around the below the nose where the top of the lip is. So I'll use my Andy's shaver instead of a razor blade. But on the cheeks, you could almost on anybody, you could use, on the cheek area, you could pretty much use the razor, especially if it's just for the outline, which I suggest, man, because that really does make a huge difference. So here I'm using a clear shave gel so that I can see what I'm doing as I'm shaping his beard. I think that's important. I like shave cream, but I find myself wiping it off anyways before I start doing the shave so I can see what I'm doing. I think the shave gel leaves the face moisturized, the hair moisturized, and gives it a more comfortable shave. And at the end of the day, it's all about a service. Your customer has to be comfortable throughout the process, especially if he's sitting in your chair for 45 minutes. So this haircut generally takes me about 45 minutes. And me and this guy, we talk a lot, man. So I use up every bit of the time that I have allotted during his appointment. And I cut by appointment only. I don't do walk-ins. And it's not because I don't want to, it's just because in order for me to be able to squeeze in all my clients, and take advantage of the time that I have and try to, squeeze everybody in, appointments just work best for me. So when you're using a straight razor, you want to pull the skin. You want to make sure that it there's no friction on the blade. And you can see with the difference between just the trimmer and doing the razor, what it makes. It's a huge difference. And when you stretch the surface of the skin, it makes it easier to reach tight places, and it also gives more comfortable shave. Like right here, I'm pulling the side of his face by his lip line so I can get into these corners. And right here I'm checking the mirrors, making sure that the shape is right, that it's even. There's no there isn't a lower side to his beard than the other. Put a little bit of gel, do some finishing touches. These things right here make these are small details that make a hell of a difference. And this is your finished product. Hope you guys learned. Definitely subscribe, share, comment below if you have any questions. Thanks for watching. Don't forget about the barber session March 13th. You can book online at tomb45.com.